Welcome to ClearRound. Log on to clearround.dev for interview-calibrated questions. Have you ever written a React component, refreshed the page, and noticed something strange? Your component renders twice. Your useEffect runs twice. Your API call fires twice. And immediately you start wondering, is React broken? Is this a bug? Why does this happen only in development? This confusion is one of the most common React interview traps. And the answer is not a bug. It's React strict mode. React strict mode is a development-only tool. It does not affect production builds. It does not change your user interface. And it does not add new features to React. Instead, it intentionally re-invokes certain logic to help React detect unsafe patterns in your code early. You enable it by wrapping your application in React strict mode. An extremely important detail is this. Strict mode does absolutely nothing in production. So if you ever see behavior that happens only in development, that behavior is intentional and deliberate, which leads to the real question. What exactly is React trying to detect? To understand why strict mode exists, you need to understand where React is going. React is designed for interruptible rendering. That means React can start rendering a component, pause that work, discard it, and then render again. This is required for features like concurrent rendering, smoother user interactions, and better responsiveness. But this creates a problem. If your component assumes it will only render once, React cannot safely interrupt or restart rendering. If your component performs side effects during render, React cannot safely discard work. So React needs a way to detect components that are not future safe. That is exactly what strict mode does. Strict mode simulates future React behavior today. It deliberately runs certain logic more than once to ask a single question. Is this component safe to render multiple times? If the answer is no, strict mode exposes that issue immediately during development. So strict mode is not punishing your code. It is stress testing your components against React's future rendering model. If your code survives strict mode, it is far more likely to survive future React updates. Now let's talk about one of the most confusing behaviors. Why does the component function itself run twice? When React renders a component, the render phase must be pure. Pure means no mutations, no subscriptions, no timers, and no external side effects. Rendering should only calculate what the UI should look like. In strict mode, React may call your component function twice to verify this purity. If logging, mutations, or shared state changes happen during render, React will expose them. This is why console logs inside components often appear twice. That does not mean React is committing the UI twice. It means React is checking whether rendering your component is safe to repeat or discard. If rendering causes side effects, React cannot pause or restart work reliably. Strict mode makes these issues visible early instead of letting them become production bugs later. Now, let's talk about useEffect, which causes the most panic. In strict mode, React intentionally follows this sequence. First, the effect runs. Then the cleanup runs immediately. Then the effect runs again. This happens only in development. React is verifying that your effect cleanup logic is correct. Effects are meant to synchronize your component with external systems. That includes subscriptions, timers, event listeners, and network connections. If an effect sets something up, the cleanup must fully undo it. Strict mode immediately runs cleanup to confirm that nothing leaks. If cleanup is missing or incomplete, strict mode exposes the bug. This prevents memory leaks, duplicate listeners, and stale subscriptions in real applications. Once again, this behavior never happens in production. It exists purely to catch unsafe effects early. This is where many developers get confused about duplicate API calls. Strict mode does not double fetch data in production. What usually happens is that data fetching logic is placed inside effects without proper safeguards. In development, strict mode mounts, cleans up, and remounts the component. If the effect triggers a fetch and cleanup does nothing to cancel or guard it, the request appears twice. That does not mean React is broken. It means the effect is not resilient to re-execution. In production, The effect runs once, so the bug stays hidden. Strict mode exposes the problem early, when it is still easy to fix. This is why strict mode feels annoying at first, but incredibly valuable at scale. It forces you to write effects that are safe, repeatable, and predictable. Let's clear some common myths. React is not buggy. Strict mode does not hurt performance. And none of this behavior happens in production. Disabling strict mode does not fix problems. It hides them. Interviewers often ask why useEffect runs twice. The correct answer is not that React is weird. The correct answer is that strict mode intentionally double invokes logic in development to detect unsafe side effects and prepare applications for future rendering behavior. That single explanation signals strong React fundamentals. So should you turn strict mode off? In most cases, no. You might temporarily disable it while debugging noisy logs or third-party libraries. But for your own code, strict mode is a safety net. If disabling strict mode fixes a bug, that bug will return later, just harder to debug. React strict mode exists to protect your application, not to annoy you. If you want to practice more interview-calibrated React questions that test real understanding, not trivia, check out clearound.dev.